Have you ever tried to explain your dreams, your choices, your truth, only to be met with blank stares, judgment, or disbelief? You pour your heart out, hoping they'll understand, and yet all you get back is resistance. You see, that's because not everyone can understand you. Some people live behind the walls of their own illusions, illusions built from fear, ego, and the need to control what they can't comprehend. Alan Watts once said, "Trying to explain yourself to people trapped in illusion is like teaching a fish to climb a tree." It doesn't matter how good your explanation is, they simply aren't ready to see beyond their own perception. And the more you try to make them see your truth, the more you lose touch with yourself. We live in a world obsessed with validation. Everyone wants to be understood, liked, and accepted. But here's the secret. You don't need to explain your soul to anyone who isn't ready to meet you on that level. Because your journey, your awakening, your growth, these are not collective experiences. They are personal evolutions that unfold in silence, not in justification. When you stop explaining yourself, something magical happens. Peace returns. You begin to walk lighter, unburdened by the need to be approved. You no longer shrink your truth just to fit someone else's illusion. And that's where real power lies, not in convincing others, but in knowing yourself so deeply that no one's misunderstanding can shake your foundation. So let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them call your clarity confusion. Because people trapped in illusion will always project their blindness onto your vision. The ones who are meant to understand you will feel your truth, not through explanation, but through your presence. Stop explaining. Start living, because your energy is too sacred to be wasted on minds that haven't yet awakened to their own light. Your truth doesn't need validation. It needs courage. Because truth, by its very nature, stands alone. It doesn't require applause, agreement, or external approval to exist. It simply is. Yet, in a world where acceptance feels like oxygen, we are taught to seek validation for everything we believe, everything we feel, and everything we are. From childhood, we are conditioned to fit molds, to explain our choices, to justify our emotions, and to silence the parts of ourselves that don't align with the expectations of others. But your truth, the essence of who you are, was never meant to be negotiated. It was meant to be lived courageously. When you rely on validation, you hand over the keys to your inner freedom. You make your peace dependent on someone else's perception. And the truth is, most people see you not as you are, but as they are. Their opinions are colored by their fears, their insecurities, and their own illusions. So, when you explain your truth to them, you're not really being understood. You're being filtered. That's why no amount of explaining ever feels enough, because you're not looking for understanding, you're craving acceptance. But acceptance that is earned through explanation is fragile. It disappears the moment you stop performing for it. True courage begins when you decide that your truth is enough, even if no one claps for it. It's the courage to stand in your authenticity when everyone else chooses comfort. It's refusing to shrink your dreams just because someone else cannot comprehend them. It's the bravery to say, "This is who I am," without adding, "Do you approve?" Courage isn't loud. It's quiet resilience. It's that steady heartbeat inside you that says, "I will keep walking my path, even if I walk it alone." You see, validation feels safe because it gives you belonging. But courage gives you freedom, and freedom is far more valuable than approval. The people who change the world, who live meaningfully, who awaken others, are the ones who have learned to trust their inner compass, even when the crowd points in another direction. They understand that truth doesn't bend to convenience or conformity. It doesn't become false just because it's unpopular. Truth has its own light, and that light doesn't need to be justified. It only needs to be lived. There will always be those who question your path, mock your decisions, or misunderstand your intentions. But remember this, their disbelief does not define your reality. Every time you stand firm in your truth despite the noise, you strengthen your spirit. Every time you choose authenticity over acceptance, you reclaim a piece of yourself that the world once tried to mold. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the strength to act in spite of it. You might be afraid to be misunderstood, to lose people, or to be judged. And yet, you do it anyway. That's what makes it powerful. Living your truth courageously doesn't mean you rebel for the sake of rebellion. It means you listen to that quiet, honest voice within and honor it above the noise outside. It's about aligning your actions with your soul, even when logic says otherwise. Sometimes courage means walking away from what everyone else calls success, because your heart calls it emptiness. Sometimes it means saying no when the world expects a yes. Sometimes it means admitting you don't have all the answers, but you're willing to seek them authentically. Validation seeks comfort. Courage seeks truth. And truth is rarely comfortable. It challenges you, isolates you, and asks you to trust unseen paths. But the reward is peace, a kind of peace that no approval can buy. Because when you live in alignment with your truth, you stop pretending. You stop wearing masks. You stop explaining yourself to people who never intended to understand you. You simply be. And that being, that authenticity, radiates in ways that words never could. The world doesn't need more people who conform. It needs people who have the courage to be real, to stand in their truth even when it trembles, to say what others are afraid to say, to live from the heart rather than the crowd. Every great voice, every revolutionary thought, every moment of transformation in history began with one person who chose courage over validation. And you carry that same potential within you. So the next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, pause. Ask yourself, am I seeking understanding or am I seeking approval? If it's approval, remember that no amount of validation will ever fill the void that self-acceptance does. But if you have the courage to stand by your truth, you'll no longer chase approval. You'll attract respect. Because authenticity commands it without asking. Your truth doesn't need validation, it needs courage. Courage to speak even when your voice shakes. Courage to walk even when your path is unclear. Courage to be misunderstood and still remain at peace. Because real strength isn't in convincing others of your truth. It's in living it so boldly that it becomes undeniable.